and even when it comes to faculty development. A lot of what came out of this relationship was when you guys hosted us at DU a couple years ago. You failed to mention there's also the Future of Work symposium that happens over the summer, which is sort of the group, the jumping off point for us in starting to understand how it is that digital transformations and artificial intelligence and all the different things that are coming down the pipe, even down to the differences when it comes to student outcomes and what they're going to look like and what you're looking for a student.
Yeah.
And so we've tried to be intentional as much as possible in getting some of those learnings embedded into our curriculum, right? And so the collaboration piece, the globalization piece, the cultural piece, the teamwork piece that Deloitte has sort of identified for the future of work. How do we become explicit and intentional about being able to bring those into the classroom as best as we possibly can? And it's not just one, it's not just the consulting course, obviously. It's how do you embed that into your course so that all of your business students have an opportunity to be able to do that.
On other partnerships that have helped prepare your students for the future of work.
And for some of you in the last session I was in earlier, and it's always been a thought process and a passion of mine that how you really help students is really by helping to develop the faculty. I use and speak to some of my experiences that we've dealt with as faculty and how that's been able to help me engage students and even my career as a faculty person. So the Deloitte model is one model, and it's really unique having the consultants to come in and teach the course. I'm the faculty person that's a part of the consulting course, and my role there, which is really helpful, one, I'm learning a lot because it's not stuff just from what I'm reading in journals and stuff like that. I'm hearing kind of the everyday things. I also can help ask the questions to help connect to what's going on in the curriculum, because there's a lot of times there's things that they're discussing. We teach it, but we use a different vocabulary, and the students aren't always able to make that connection. Usually I'm there to be able to help make that connection so students understand what they're getting. You learned this, but you learned it in this class, and we called it this, right? So we get that. A couple other things from the faculty development standpoint. Probably the most impactful, the most impactful opportunity I've had as a faculty is to be a faculty intern. I did 3 of those with 3M Company, who was another partner of ours in their frontline program. Unfortunately, with the split of the company, the frontline program died out, but I mean, we had that partnership for like 22 years. And the faculty internship was really amazing. So I spent the 2 summers at 3M working in their corporate contact center, the first one, and there I was doing research on, this was at the time when you were getting a lot of customer service jobs moving overseas. 3M still had 3M employees, so it was a more expensive venture. They wanted to know, okay, so what were the skills and opportunities necessary with those 3 employees to take that contact center and make it more viable? So they brought me in to do the research. As a faculty person, I'm a researcher, so that's what I did. Went in, did that research. It was a great experience. They called me back the next year, and I worked in their occupational health and environmental safety division. During that time, I did some customer and distributor satisfaction research for them. Also did a study looking at, because we were just going into telesales. With Deloitte, one of the exciting things is they're helping us build something new. Consulting is not something that you find everywhere, right? So it's new, so it also helps us as a brand, right? Because we're on something new. Similar thing happened with 3M and Frontline, because that was sales and sales education. When we started in 2002, there were 30 schools around the country that had a sales degree or minor or type of program. Now there's 150.
The consulting class at a couple of HBCUs, what do you see as the greatest possibility and the greatest challenge moving forward?
So I'll start with the greatest possibility, which I think of two students actually who came from CAU's program. They're doing a stellar job right now. But when I think of them, and I think of that true kind of like pathway or bridge, if you will, from classroom to corporate, it's like, how are we best preparing them to hit the ground running once they once they come into the firm, right? And part of that is through networking, right? There are individuals who, if for whatever reason are not extended an offer at the firm, but go on to do great things elsewhere. Like, we build those core relationships. Like, I have a mentee who actually he was in a CAU cohort, but he was a student of Morehouse, and he went off to, I believe, Charlotte, and is working at, I want to say, Wells Fargo. But we connect often, and oftentimes I'm able to lean in and kind of give him insight on how to navigate certain situations. So that networking is essential there. Also, like the confidence to know that once they go into rooms that they can own them, right? We've taught them, we've reiterated some of the great things that some of the professors on file have been able to add value, but we reiterated some of those things like like logical structuring of presentations, or even asking the right questions to your clients, so they're firm and confident in how they show up every single day. And then on the other side of that, you asked for the opportunity as well. I say the biggest opportunity, in my opinion, is perhaps just how curriculum shifts, how what we teach shifts, right? Especially you all in academia, I'm sure you can relate to that. But we're constantly looking inward at the way in which we deliver to our students to ensure that it's the most impactful, right? They get the most out of it. So every single semester, every single year, we're putting together surveys, sending it out to the students to make sure that the way that we're delivering curriculum meets them where they are. If it's like we need to do more interactive type of examples, right? If it's more case study, whatever it is, or even like this past year, we put together an event where we had recruiters basically do a virtual event with recruiters where they talk through like resume development, that classroom to corporate shift, right? So we're always trying to tune in with the students, get it right, and as their needs shift, we want to shift too.
Between schools and partners, right? Because at schools, we do all that. We survey students and see what curriculum is, but what we can't replicate, right, is the real-time shifts. When they talk about shifts in curriculum and things that are going on, it's because that's what's happening right now. Yeah. And when you're doing it, you're gonna see that. When you're in the classroom, you don't see that until they've done it, published it somewhere, then you had the opportunity to read it, which could be years later, and then that's obsolete, right? So having partnerships, however they're structured, but in this case, having the professionals actually in the classroom along with the faculty person to be able to make the connections of the shifts, right? And, okay, that might be different, but it's similar to what you learned in X. Right?
Right, absolutely.
That's the sweet spot.
And more capacity for your HBCU to grow even more further in the future.
So, what's been successful for me and what I've seen and what I call success? I call success programs that have lasted multiple years and that does more than hype. Right? The commitment came from the company, right? So it was the organization that had an idea and a commitment and said, what do you think about that? Okay, we're in, right? So
On that, kind of know there's a question in the back, and we're mindful of it. We have to be explicit and ask the question, how can we help you? What do you need from us? Right? Because if you can get to what Deloitte needs, and a lot of times it's not just going to be a pipeline, right? You might have a product, you might have something out there that needs to get vetted. You've got an engaged level of students that can be able to help you to ask the right questions to do what you need to do. And so a lot of times the long-term commitments come out of, it's not just me, right? And this is something Floyd taught us at ACBSB. It's you have to be explicit about what you want, but you also have to create the value add for them so that they know exactly what it is that they're getting out of that relationship.
Myself coming from industry, I worked at Delta Airlines for a little bit prior to coming to the firm. There were still learning opportunities for me, especially in terms of those like core consulting skills. Like, how do I ensure that I'm asking the right questions? How do I ensure that I actually understand what my client's needs are before I jump in to solve it? I think those are some of the things that we harp on in our class, and that's some of the way in which we kind of reiterate or re-emphasize preparedness as we interact with our students and as they go into the workforce.
Week 1 through 15, right? And here's the assessment value, here's what we want to do, here's the capstone at the end. And then working with Dr. Kakrasia, they were able to say, all right, well, we've covered this over here, so let's replace that with something else. And so you collaboratively work with your faculty member on campus to be able to do that. And then because you have an instructor of record, you're working either collaboratively with Deloitte if there's the capstone end, or if there's other work that needs to get done, then your faculty of record is the one that provides the assessment portion of that. And so, no, it's been a true collaboration on that part of saying, all right, this is the entire suite of what we can offer, right? How do we then sort of pick what we need in order to be able to ensure that all 15 weeks are relevant back to our students?
And that's aligned with like content development. We have a pretty strong relationship with them, but I don't know if I mentioned this, but this entire, consulting course, if you will, started in 2019. So we've been kind of getting our reps in since then, kind of making adjustments since then. But yeah, we make sure that like as we begin to like start those relationships, that we have a connection point at the university, and we're kind of like connecting the dots of our understanding of what their student needs are, and then kind of bringing that back to our internal nerve center and ensuring that we hit all those points.
Grade point average to get into that consulting course. Do you guys at Xaiver have a grade point average?
Because once we open, the students can go ahead and get in the course. Enroll in the course.
Okay.
We do kind of look at those students that are in there though, because there's going to be some demands, right?
Absolutely.
Because you guys have some MBA students in yours.